The Mavericks fall on the road to the San Antonio Spurs to split the baseball series as they fall back under 500. We'll break down how it all went down in San Antonio coming up on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs. We appreciate you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Unfortunately, the Mavericks fall tonight 126-116 to the San Antonio Spurs as they split their baseball series as the Mavericks drop back below 500 at 33-34 on the season after 67 games. 14-19 away from the American Airlines Center. De'Aaron Fox leading all scorers tonight with 32 points as the Spurs had 5 guys in double figures. Mavericks had 7 guys in double figures led by Brandon Williams, who had 19 points in his return off the injury list. We'll break it all down here for you over the course of the next hour. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports while you're here, and also find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts for free. As well as, gentlemen, the Mavericks were looking for a season series sweep of the Spurs. Unfortunately, that did not happen tonight as Jeremy Sohan and company for the San Antonio Spurs. Just too much for Dallas, especially beginning in that second quarter there.
I said it on the pregame show. It just felt likely that San Antonio's talent was going to win out, and San Antonio is not a great team. I did not come away from this 2-game series super impressed with the roster. Obviously with Wembanyama out for the season, but De'Aaron Fox is a better player than what he showed in Monday's game, and he showed it tonight. It wasn't the most efficient night. It wasn't, spectacular from him. Also, almost a triple-double. But 32 points. Dallas doesn't have a lot of players who you can consistently rely on to give you 30 points. When they're going to do it, it's going to be like Najee Marshall. And everybody's like, oh my God, look at Najee Marshall. Nobody looks at De'Aaron Fox and says, oh my God, he just scored 32 points, because he's De'Aaron Fox. He has a very long history of scoring 30-plus points. So when
especially against the Mavs.
Especially against the Mavs, yeah. No, he's had some games against them as a Sacramento King. So when he goes out there and does this and, just out-talents what Dallas was able to provide tonight, they didn't have anybody rise to the moment, rise to the 30-point threshold, or just like, that number one option that Jason Kidd says the offense isn't revolved around, just because nobody is expected to do that. They didn't have anybody rise into that mantle, and you're stuck with a game where you just didn't quite have enough offense. You were trailing by 10 points for most of the fourth quarter, and this is a semi-predictable, semi-expected outcome. I think from a second night or second game of a baseball series where these usually end up being split anyway.
Mavericks led 28-20 at the end of one, Bobby, but the Spurs outscored the Mavericks 106-88 in the final 3 quarters of this game. It felt like they just decided to get themselves, especially downhill if you're De'Aaron Fox, but more importantly, they got the 3-point ball going as the game went on. Just offensively too much for Dallas as this game went on for them.
Yeah, most of the Spurs stats are actually pretty similar to what they were in the last game. So last game, Spurs had 129 points. Tonight they had 126. Last game, Spurs had 64 points in the paint. Tonight they had 66. Last game, the Spurs bench had 53 points. Tonight they had 51. And so even though the points were redistributed with Fox scoring more, Barnes scoring less, Sohan played tonight, but other guys had huge games for San Antonio the other night. Couple big things changed on Dallas's end. One, the Mavs had, count them, 62 points in the paint the other night, only 52 tonight. They had 30 free throw attempts last game. Granted, some of them were intentional fouls late in the game. Tonight, only 17 free throws, so much less stuff going to the rim, whether it was via foul or via field goal attempt. And then also last game, the Mavs had 10 offensive rebounds for 24 second chance points. averaging more than 2 second chance points per offensive rebound, which is wild. Tonight, though, only 4 offensive rebounds and 4 second chance points. All that stuff adds up. Oh, and 7 extra turnovers, too. I forgot to mention that. So all of those factors just add up to their offense scoring fewer points. And, against a team like the Spurs that they rang you up for 125, it's
6.
Well, yeah, but I'm just using it's not even a round number. I'm using the number.
Power of 5.
Yes, I'm using that one. Every point counts. Every possession counts. And, the Mavs, they wasted a few too many a few too many possessions via turnover tonight compared to the last one. And in a shootout, those are going to come back to bite you. The Spurs got out on the fast break a lot in this game, and then they also had a lot more second chances than the Mavs, and they took advantage of them. So, compared to the first game, it was just the Spurs were just much more mindful of the details, I thought, tonight.
Jeremy Sohan being back was a big addition for them too. That's a good player. That's one of their competent floor-raising players on the roster. He's someone I really like. Sometimes doesn't, look the most aesthetically pleasing. Sometimes can go through, has gone through periods of struggle, especially with his jumper. But every time he's out there, he's going to help you win a little bit more. And, San Antonio didn't have a lot of competent players, or, I wasn't very impressed with their roster. Sohan is the type of player who comes in and just connects everything together, makes it flow a little bit smoother. Big boost for San Antonio for him to be back tonight.
Mavericks closed the final 6 minutes of that first quarter on a 19-4 run to lead by 8 at the end of one, 28-20. But the offense just got clicking for San Antonio in the final 3 quarters, scoring of those 106 points. Some of the other numbers from tonight's game between the Mavericks and the Spurs. Mavericks shot 55% from the field, 40.6% from downtown, but the Spurs shot 53% from the field themselves, but just 31% from downtown from 3. They out-rebounded the Mavs tonight, 47-32, and also 13-4 on the offensive glass for San Antonio tonight, scoring 66 points in the paint, outscoring the Mavericks 16-4 in terms of second chance points. So whether it be on the offensive glass and getting those second chance opportunities to be able to get some points on the board, San Antonio won those, in essence, those plays much more frequently tonight than the Dallas Mavericks. But as you guys mentioned, De'Aaron Fox leading 32 points with 5 guys in double figures for San Antonio just changed the feel of the game when he gets going and other guys are making timely shots, whether it be Chris Paul, whether it be Devin Vassell being aggressive, Keldon Johnson as well. Much more balanced, it felt like, for San Antonio tonight, given what happened on Monday night. And the sheer overwhelming of a number of guys being able to contribute was able to get it done as far as this game was concerned, based off of the available guys that they have for San Antonio here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fox had a 11-point third quarter, and Barnes had a big game. Keldon Johnson had a big game the other night, but whenever your guard is out there not only dropping dimes, but also he's hitting pull-up threes and getting stuff going in transition, it just feels like a bit of a tidal wave. And again, the Mavs were helping them. The Spurs obviously scored a ton of points, and they shot it pretty well, and they got a lot of rebounds and stuff. But the Mavs offense tonight was, I feel like, the bigger Achilles heel. I mean, just too many turnovers, a lot of bad passes, a lot of wasted possessions. I thought they had to work harder for their shots tonight, and they weren't able to get as good of looks. I thought they had many more clean looks the other night. So I just feel like the Spurs, Sohan being back helped them on defense as well as offense. But I just thought the Spurs were just sharper. That team looked so checked out the other night, dangerously so. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, for large stretches of the first half tonight, they looked checked out too.
Agreed.
I'm like, what the hell is going on down there? But then something clicked. Something changed in the second quarter, and then in the third quarter is pedal to the metal, and it was kind of game overtime. So I don't know if they found some shame, if they found some pride. Fox got pissed off at something or whatever, but their whole kind of attitude changed, and the Mavs just couldn't keep up after that.
Yeah, the demeanor was much better for them as the game went on. For the Mavericks, 7 guys at double figures led by Brandon Williams, who had 19 points tonight after missing the game on Monday with a hamstring injury. Came back tonight, was able to give them 19 big points in this game. PJ Washington was questionable coming into tonight. He's dealing with the ankle sprain, of course. He may be back as soon as Friday when the Mavericks take on the Houston Rockets. We will see what his availability will look like over the next couple of days. But Brandon Williams continuing to play well for this team as the games wind down for both Brandon Williams and Kessler Edwards. Kessler Edwards had another good game tonight for Dallas, but this is kind of the countdown that we're on right now when it comes to Brandon Williams and Kessler Edwards in terms of their two-way contract. In fact, shout out to Tanner with the total games remaining.
Get that man off my screen. Just kidding.
When it comes to
not really.
Brandon Williams and Kessler Edwards, Brandon Williams after tonight, just 7 games remaining on his two-way deal. Kessler Edwards, just 4 games remaining now on his two-way deal. And yes, after tonight, the Mavericks have less than 16 games left to play.
Well, they have 15.
That's right.
And they have more than 14.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it true that Kai Jones is on like a prorated thing where
Yes.
Kai Jones has a limited number.
Yes.
But
that's so weird.
He stays being unavailable to play games, and by the time he comes back, he'll be able to play the rest of the season.
Yeah,
or maybe he doesn't come back.
It's kind of I mean, like I don't know what the issue is with him, but like they could
thighs.
definitely use him
Quad
now
strain,
if
yeah.
yeah, I mean if the bigs are going to if AD and Lively really are going to come back, then it's like you would love for those guys to get all the minutes. If Jones is healthy whenever they're back, it's like, well, I mean, I guess you can be the second or third string center, like that's probably fine. But like PJ's coming back soon too, so it's like, I mean, it would just be really nice to have him out there to play these minutes.
And we'll have a little bit more of a lengthy discussion a little bit later on when it comes to PJ Washington. But the idea being, let's say he is available on Friday, you may be able to save a game of Kessler Edwards if you can deactivate him if PJ Washington is back to preserve one of those games. But that's a decision obviously the Mavericks are going to have to make as they move forward here. When you start looking at how the Western Conference standings look with spots, 10, 11, and 12, I mean, Phoenix is doing everything in its power to not get the 10 spot in the West, no matter how much the Mavericks may lose down the stretch as well. We detailed it a little bit earlier on in our pregame show about the hellacious schedule that the Phoenix Suns have in their final few weeks of the season. It may not allow for an opportunity for them to really gain any ground, no matter how well or not so well the Mavericks play down the stretch. So it feels more and more like, based off of what we believe the Suns will be doing over the next few weeks, and the Mavericks, if they decide to bring some guys back, that the 10 seed is well within reach, because for all intents and purposes, Portland is not going to catch Dallas. San Antonio is not going to necessarily catch Dallas either. It's really between the Suns and the Mavericks on who is going to get that 10 spot. And more as the days go on, it feels like it's going to be Dallas, despite their quote unquote best efforts.
Look, I can read the Suns schedule again. I don't know what our audience is like. Let me know in the chat if you want to hear me read off their schedule again. On the flip side, yeah, they got a tough schedule. They also got Kevin Durant. They got Devin Booker. They have recently, beaten the Clippers. They went to overtime against Denver. They went to overtime against Memphis. Not a lot of other great wins or even close losses.
It's been a lot of bad for them lately. Their next 4 games are big. Their next 4 games are really, really big for them.
Those are really important.
They get the Kings, they get the Raptors. Granted, on the second night of a back-to-back, and
Kings,
then they
Raptors,
play the Bulls.
Lakers, Bulls.
Yeah, and those 3 games are all at home. If they can win 3 out of 4, then all of a sudden, like by then they might be tied with the Mavs, and then it's every game counts. But like whereas if they lose any of these games, it's like these are honestly like 3 of their easiest 4 games left all season. So if you can't take advantage of those opportunities, then when are you going to get another win?
Yeah, I don't know mentally if you're the Suns how you go into that 9-game stretch of only like almost virtually all like top 4, top 10 teams in the NBA. I don't know how you go into that stretch if you're not at least tied with the spot that you're trying to get into and mentally be up for it.
Even with the Suns having the tiebreaker with the Mavs, they've still got the Mavs will have to finish ahead of Phoenix to get that final play-in spot at this rate. But given the schedule that Phoenix is going to be having here, my gosh, it's going to be very interesting to watch how these 2 teams approach the final few weeks of the season, given where they are. The Mavericks in their terms of their injury situation, and Phoenix just off their sheer schedule that they got to play despite having some of the quality of talent that they have. It's going to be very difficult to win. They lost tonight to the Houston Rockets. The Mavericks will see the Rockets on the road on Friday. In fact, the Suns got blown out by Houston tonight. So tense times, if you will, when it comes to that final play-in spot between the Mavericks and the Suns with just a few weeks left to play in the regular season. Mavericks fall 126-116 on the road, though, tonight to the San Antonio Spurs. Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. When we come back, the turning point of this game and a little bit later on, what the season is starting to look like and shape up. Should they bring P.J. Washington back beginning on Friday, and what that can mean for the Mavericks moving forward for the rest of the regular season. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
But first, let me talk to you about Sleeper. My sleeper pick tonight was actually pretty close, but Klay Thompson, you let me down. He only had 12 points. I needed at least 15. With Sleeper, the more you pick, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. I had 3 picks. Klay for 15, didn't get there, but De'Aaron Fox did get 20. Harrison Barnes did get 10. It's okay, though. I've won a few in a row going into that, and so I will bounce back and be stronger next time. If you want to play along with me, you can download the Sleeper app today. Use promo code DLLS Mavs whenever playing $5 of your own money to get $55 of their money to use on your picks anytime you like. Does not have to be your first one. Just check the terms of use for details. Sleeper is currently operational in more than 25 states, including Texas. So when you win, you can withdraw that money right away and get it to your bank account ASAP, or you can leave it in there and let it ride and just keep playing until you're a millionaire and you can join me on a yacht somewhere near the Maldives.
This ad read goes out to Klay Thompson. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Your friend at Shady Rays has you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. I know you've made a lot of money in your career, but Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all adventures. In fact, their lenses are so dark that when Bobby picks you for something, for a sleeper, you could just throw them on and then you won't even see the rim, and you'll only take 9 shots and you'll bust it for him.
I have a pair of Shady Rays and they hide my tears whenever I lose.
So good job, Klay. You brought us a lot of entertainment tonight. They probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. I'm not going to take a guess at which one that might be for Klay. Actually, no, it is blue and white. Absolutely.
Indeed.
Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars with over 300,000 people.
Mavs fall 126-116 on the road to the San Antonio Spurs, dropping to 33-34 on the season after 67 games. Mavs have now lost, unfortunately, 8 of their last 10 as they continue a stretch of playing 8 of 10 on the road. Just from Andrea.
Let's make sure that Shady Rays doesn't see that comment. I thought it was an exhilarating ad read, Tim.
I thought
that ad read changed my life.
I wanted to see if I can make the Klay Thompson read work, but yeah.
Sorry, we got 15 more chances.
Yeah,
much like
less.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Less.
You know, sometimes I do feel like I come up with brilliant ideas for the ad reads, and sometimes they flop.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Well, I miss a lot of the shots.
Are you talking to Klay right now?
I'm talking. Yeah. Klay passed up a lot of them tonight. Don't get me started.
From 214-sided, tank rolls on, boys. Yeah, the thing is, they've won too many games. Like, even if they wanted to go full just commando tank mode, yeah, it's too late.
It's very crowded out here on this tank highway.
There's
a lot of I mean, Utah is clearing the lead. They're already paying fines.
Man.
Utah's getting fined in March. That's how bad their tank is.
The league got it for what, $100,000?
Yeah.
For the Lori marketing.
Mavs got fined more than that for some reason. But whatever.
That will always be one of the more weird fines that the NBA has handed out when it came to the Mavs and their whole tanking situation. But unfortunately, the Mavericks now lost 8 of their last 10 games as they continue a stretch where they play 8 of 10 on the road. They'll be on the road against Houston on Friday. Let's hop into Cato's Corner for a little bit here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show after the Mavericks fall to San Antonio, splitting their baseball series with the Spurs. Mavs did, though, win the season series 3-1. They were going for a season series sweep for 2 years in a row after winning all 4 games last year, winning the first 3 this year, but unfortunately falling. But, Tim, your observations from tonight as we continue to move toward the rest of the weekend here.
Yeah, I just wanted a few things I saw throughout this game. I want to start out strong. Spencer Dinwiddie, if you ever shoot a Dirk fade again, you are going to jail. You do not have the privilege to shoot a Dirk fade away.
That one.
What was that?
And that elicited an audible reaction from all of us.
What the hell was that?
First time all season that all of us have reacted to a play.
A Dirk one-footed fadeaway.
Was literally in shock.
Whatever. Everything's fine.
Like, do you work on that shot?
He probably does.
Is that a shot
He probably
you practice?
does. But I'm just saying. I am saying from here on out, there was one other player who got to use the Dirk fade in Dallas.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Yes. I've had a long-running rule. It's my own rule. But next time I see Adam, I'm going to pitch it. Anytime a player makes a one-footed fade against Dallas, Dallas should get those points. Especially if it's in Dallas, on the Dallas home court. It's a good rule. Did Dwight Powell get hit in the face today?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to applaud.
A memorable one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
so
cool.
this is a groundbreaking game.
Nice
And I'm
golf
very
clap.
proud
That's
of him.
good.
I'm very proud of his face for avoiding limbs.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Stephon Castle?
Good rookie.
Yeah, he had 8 points tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
Hater
a little
mode
underwhelming
activated?
tonight.
Honestly, I've been on for a while the train that Jalen Wells should be the rookie of the year. And
Not Zachary Richardson.
I like Ricochet. I think Wells has been most consistent. But then I look at his box score, look at his game log of late. 2, 9, 5, 3 points, and hasn't been spectacular in the last few. I think he went 1 of 9 2 games in a row. Or he went 1 of 7 tonight. Another 2 points. It's a very underwhelming rookie class. Or the rookie of the year winner is going to be underwhelming. I actually like a lot of the players. Very underwhelming rookie of the year. Just a bummer. You know, this feels it's not honestly it's worse than the Joel Embiid who won that year?
Malcolm Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon. I could see his initials.
Mm.
What's worse about this is at least the Joel Embiid thing offered a lot of like very interesting discussion. Embiid coming in and being the most impactful rookie for 30 games. But, you know, Brogdon won it just by the strength of his overall season. Just kind of a bummer.
Who is your rookie of the year then?
It had been Wells.
Okay.
And I don't think it's Castle for me. Ricochet, I think, is slightly more interesting.
Okay.
But he's also
played well lately.
He has been better as late.
He's come on strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wells, I honestly think Wells is going to lose it because of recency bias. I think if you stack up the entirety of their seasons thus far, and if Wells keeps slipping, if he keeps not making an impact, if Ricochet keeps coming on strong, it is funny how the number 1 pick in the NBA has barely been talked about. You know, I guess if Castle has a strong finish, and I think Castle's been interesting and good, but I just don't think it's quite been at Rookie of the Year levels. Then again, nobody has been. Max Christie. Because little, maybe not worried about him, but I don't know. This is the perfect situation. He came in and first few weeks looked like a guy who like wanted to burst out, wanted to at least show that he deserved a little bit more offensive responsibilities.
Hell, we were calling it the Max Christie trade for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, he was awesome. But what was
future
awesome?
Big 3 member.
That's right. That's right.
Well, what I cared about way more, like he was making so many shots. That certainly had a big impact on it. But he was shooting stuff. He was going and finding ways to score, finding ways to get a shot. Obviously, Kyrie was still on the court. Defenses couldn't, defenses had to double more. Defenses had to help. They had to shade. They were not playing as ethically. They're stacking their lineups towards a lead playmaker. So maybe that's affected him a little bit. But this is the time of the year. This is the situation. If Max Christie was doing 2 of 6, I think he was 4 or 5 on Monday, 4 or 5 on threes. He only took threes. Tonight he was 2 of 6. If he was just blending into a team that was fully healthy, playing 26 minutes, being not super noticeable, but also just being a smart player on both ends, I would like him to be a little bit more noticeable defensively, but he's certainly been a good defender overall. He's been solid. He's been very competent. If he was doing that on a healthy team, that'd be one thing. This is the exact time, though, that you want a player like this to demand more shots, to go get a few more shots. And I thought we were going to see a little bit of that. And if that's not the player he ends up being, that's fine. He's still a very useful player. I think he's going to be a good player for a good role player for a while. But this is your chance to show it. Quentin Grimes is showing it. AJ Lawson is showing it. Like, this is the perfect situation for him to pop off a little bit. So I don't know if the minutes are just catching up to him. This is certainly the most minutes he's played, consecutive minutes, consecutive games, all that stuff. This is the first time he's fully in the rotation. It could be a first, just like first year as a rotation player, kind of second half slump.
I do wonder, and this is
but I'm not seeing it right now, and it is making me think a little bit.
I do wonder to that point when it comes to Max Christie, and Bobby, you touched on this a little bit as well, is the amount of minutes in play that a lot of these guys are experiencing right now. When is the moment that they hit that proverbial brick wall and things kind of start to unravel because just the sheer amount of play and minutes that they have had to experience? Max Christie might be an example of that, where he is playing a ton more than what he probably expected in the position that he's in right now, and maybe some of that has caught up to him a little bit.
I'm not totally sure about the minutes thing, only because toward the end of his Lakers tenure, he was playing a lot. Now, granted, any wall that you could be hitting now could also be tied to minutes that he was already playing. But in his last 19 games with Lakers, he was playing 32 minutes a game, which is a lot more than I thought. I think there's three things at play with Max, outside of any sort of potential fatigue, wear and tear, that sort of thing. You get an initial boost, of maybe confidence and all that stuff, some excitement going to a new place before kind of that honeymoon period ends. But more importantly, there's no bigs right now to screen for him. Whereas, with even Kai Jones, granted he's playing a little bit with Dwight, but Dwight's more setting screen for Dinwiddie. But with a different big, he can curl off screens off the ball, and then on the ball, he can hunt mismatches or at least create driving lanes for himself that way, because I don't think he has the ball handling ability or the change of speed at this point to beat guys one-on-one. And right now, without any bigs to screen at all for the most part, it is just who can get past their man one-on-one. That's where Najee, I feel like, has really stood out lately. But another reason is the playmakers. Dante is a decent playmaker whenever you have a superstar out there to kind of attract attention. Then he can make the easy reads. Dinwiddie is okay. Brandon Williams is not really a facilitator most of the time. And so, I don't think he's getting as many good looks. And he's certainly not capitalizing off double teams because no one's getting double team right now. So I think all of his shots are maybe a little harder, more difficult, and maybe not in spots where he's totally set up for success, which means maybe he's just not ready to be like a 15 to 20 point scorer in a system where there is no guy to make his job easier. Maybe at this point in his career, he just needs to benefit off of somebody. Ooh, I just spit a little bit. To benefit off of somebody else's extra attention. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine, because when this team is operating the way it's supposed to, there will always be, at least you would think, one guy, if not two, on the floor that do attract more attention. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily think that he's like a bust or that he's crumbling or anything. I just want to see more minutes, with him out there with their best playmakers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's see. The 7-game stretch is his debut for Dallas, where he scored at least 15 in every game. Since then, 9 games and then plus tonight where he scored 6. He's in the past 9 games, he's been averaging just about 9 points. The numbers are down, but the shooting percentages are down. But I do generally agree that I just don't think he's going to be a first step guy. I don't think he's going to be a beat his man guy. I think he's going to be someone who can become really competent, really smart at using space that has already been created, that he can already get into and operate within. But I don't think that this is, ever going to be a hand him the ball with 7 on the clock and ask him to go beat his man one-on-one. Every player in the NBA has some ability to do that at times, but I don't think that he doesn't seem, he hasn't struck me as a player thus far whose best skill is going to be doing that. And that's fine if the team gets a little bit healthier. I'm curious if he can get back to finding and exploiting space a little bit better than he was. At the same time, I will say that 7-game stretch, he that magic run, the Cinderella run. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say Cinderella, But you know the
he was on cloud nine, man.
Yeah, the fantastic start too. There was a lot of really tough shot making in there, and
Kyrie was still on the floor,
and Kyrie was still on the court, and so there's a lot more space for him to take, and there's a lot of really tough shot making that he was actually doing.
Like has he had any pull up twos since Kyrie's been out?
Very rarely.
Like I think it's been a lot of catch and shoot threes, which is fine, but it's a little limiting,
especially in the corners. Yeah.
Granted, this is a really small sample size, but the minutes are almost identical. So Max with Kyrie, 265 minutes. Max without Kyrie, 258 minutes. The Mavs as a team at this juncture with Max on, Kyrie off, 115.7 offensive rating. With Max and Kyrie both on, 119.3 offensive rating. So it's about an extra, what is that, like 4 points? Granted, that's not all Max, but you know, if Kyrie's not on the floor, then that implies that probably Dinwiddie or Dante or Brandon Williams, maybe several of them, maybe two of them. Sometimes I think maybe they've even played all three at the same time. But again, it's not the same quality of shots, and I'm sure it's probably that way with everybody on the team, not just Max. But I did just want to mention that
he's taken 4 twos per game since Kyrie went down, so could just be a moment to reset and just refigure out what his role in this team is. But his role in this team, until this team gets healthier, might be something more akin to, be a smart slasher cutter as much as you can be and take and make as many spot up threes as you can. And, when there are moments of transition, when there are moments of defensive breakdown, see if you can go find space for one of those, those shots that you were showing earlier and early on when he first got traded here. So I also wanted to talk, and I know we're hitting a break, so we can probably do it after. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was just which two-way player gets the full contract. This is something you brought up when we were just talking.
That's a juicy convo.
Yeah. I can't
over.
remember if we lined that up pre-show, but we should definitely have that combo.
Yeah, we should.
And we'll do that next here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show with the games running out for both Brandon Williams and Kessler Edwards, who deserves to remain on the roster once those two-way contracts are up. And plus, a little bit later on, should the Mavericks bring P.J. Washington back come Friday when they take on the Houston Rockets? We'll discuss all that and more coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. But first, let me talk to you about Saturday Neon, started by two college friends. Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs, perfect for your home, office, dorm room, fan cave, and bar as well. You can check out their new Essentials collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country, counting for only $75 as well. With Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State signs as well. Unlike traditional LED neon signs, these won't break or shatter, but they still give you that classic uniform look that you know and love. They're super easy to install as well, using 3M command strips, and they're the perfect gift for the sports fan in your life, whether it be for their office or wherever they want to have their team featured in their home. So make sure you head over to SaturdayNeon.com and use code DLLS for 10% off your favorite sign. Again, SaturdayNeon.com. Use code DLLS for 10% off your favorite sign today.
Get fitted out in the best sports gear around with FOCO. I'm on FOCO's website right now.
Big FOCO lurker.
Every time I have a FOCO read, I have a mission.
Yeah.
I have one specific thing I want to do. I want to go find the newest, wackiest, coolest thing. And you know what? They have a jigsaw puzzle with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Whoa! That's actually really cool.
I know. You can have a Giannis.
Oh, wow.
Is it life size? That would be incredible if it was life size.
Let's see how large it is.
7-foot puzzle?
It's 105 pieces.
All right.
25 seconds.
Yeah, I know. But I'm really locked into this Giannis puzzle.
But Giannis doesn't play for the Mavs. Do they have Mavs stuff on there?
They have Steph Curry.
That's it.
They have Aaron Judge.
Well, how can I find out if they have Mavs stuff, Tim?
Check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use promo code DLLS10 for 10% off.
That was excellent.
We need to get some FOCO puzzles. We need the walls in here. Put them together. That would actually look great.
Yeah.
And it would be like a good team building exercise.
I agree.
This wall right there, that's actually a puzzle.
Ooh.
Yeah, that FOCO made
that is a lie.
We still
know
gotta get our Papa Shot competition on too, so we can just start determining who's gonna be hosting these shows down the stretch.
I've heard Tim practicing lately.
So have I. of bricks going on out there inside the.
I've heard a lot of
No, if you're hearing that, that means it's like a rim out that should have gone in.
Oh, okay. So it's like closer to what it should have been.
Yeah, the misses, I don't say much.
Okay. Well, the Spurs unfortunately beat the Mavs at 126-116 on the road as the Mavericks continue their road trip on Friday against the Houston Rockets. With that being said, who deserves to remain on this roster with the two-way contracts running out for both Brandon Williams and Kessler Edwards? Tan, if you could remind the folks where these two gentlemen stand when it comes to their contract situations and games remaining for the rest of the season. Brandon Williams, after tonight, 7 games remaining on his two-way deal. Kessler Edwards, 4 games remaining on his two-way deal with 15 games left in the regular season. Nico Harrison, gentlemen, who deserves to remain on this roster?
Not remain. Like in the sense that when they hit this limit, they don't like disappear.
Yes.
Yeah. But like I've seen this a lot. Like they're still under contract. They just have run out of eligible games they can play. However, with 4 games remaining in this regular season, Dallas can finally use the $50K. Just couch money. Honestly, if
who want this extra $50,000 left?
I would posit so they can use that $50K to sign one of those 2 players to a real NBA contract, which would do a few things. Put them under contract. They could, have them under contract for next season. If they do end up in the play-in, they can now have that player available to, for the play-in games, and then potentially the playoffs after that. But they only have $50K. They only have 1 roster spot. $50K funds 4 days of an NBA minimum salary for, someone who has the, years of service of a player eligible for the two-way contract. I would say that when Dallas gets to the 4 days remaining, they should spend that $50K on me.
Oh.
I've been through a lot. I've done a lot for this team this season.
Oh.
I've shown up every game.
Oh.
Not everybody can say that.
That is not true.
I don't
You've
think that's
missed
necessarily
games.
true, actually.
I have shown up in spirit every game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I may finish the year as the... How many games did I miss? Like 1? I missed no less than 1.
I don't have your schedule memorized.
Yeah. However, I do not think the Dallas Mavericks are going to pay me money. Nor ethically would that be something... It would be complicated. Maybe it would be like a voucher situation.
Not a voucher.
But I don't think they're going to do that either. So we're left with 2 two-way players. And one of them will be rewarded almost certainly. There's like no other scenario that makes any sense for Dallas unless they're just like, F it, Maybe we're just going to keep it going. No, they will convert one of their 3 two-way players to a full standard NBA contract. Near certainty to happen. Who should it be?
Well, KG asked you that already.
I did. And you still haven't answered yet.
Yeah, you said you.
Well, I think it should be me. I did answer.
All right, well, what if it can't be?
I am leaning... I look, like, Kai Jones obviously hasn't played enough. Like, we can rule him out of this discussion. If he comes back and really shows something, I don't expect him to. And center is not a position of weakness for Dallas. I would lean Brandon Williams, personally. I really like what Kessler Edwards has done for Dallas, but it's still something that feels... I feel like what we're praising him for has been pretty solid play, but also just based off the expectations and based off how little else Dallas had available to it. And that's a harsh thing to say on a night where this was probably his best offensive night, really since he entered the rotation. 15 points on 6 of 8. I thought he was very effective. He's certainly become a lot more comfortable in the offense, but he's also getting comfortable in ways of, like ducking in from the dunker spot, tossing up little soft floaters. Great stuff, but is that sustainable as a player who, as a deep bench guy? Sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking myself into it.
I don't know, man. I mean, there's real questions, Bobby, when it comes to the forward position on this team because Omax is dealing with a season-ending wrist injury. You don't have quite as much depth with your 4 spot. You've got a ton of bigs with Lively and Gafford and Anthony Davis. I mean, your power forward position is not great in terms of depth right now. So Brandon Williams has been fun to watch. I think for me, I would pick Kessler Edwards only because I don't think it would be in the best interest of the Mavericks to bring any of their big men back for the rest of the regular season. And I think Kessler Edwards with his play and really the need has earned the ability to
Well, can I say one thing super quick before? Yeah. I mean, if you sign him at the end of the year, all of a sudden you have like 2 more games that person can play.
Yeah.
And so that's what it may come down to. It may just come down to which player Dallas needs. The way I was trying to answer the question is like, which player has more of a future for the Mavericks and in the NBA?
If it were me, I would always prioritize the wings over guards, just because I think it's harder to find wings. I do recognize that Edwards has been playing pretty well in a role that he is not necessarily supposed to play. But then again, we've been wanting a couple years now for the Mavs to be able to go small credibly. And I would say that they're playing like mostly credible basketball for the last month and a half, despite all of the injuries that they've been facing. And that's a skill set. And I think playing 3 and 4 is a skill set, and guarding 2s and sometimes even 1s is a skill set. And I think it's harder to find guys that are 6'7", 6'8" than it is to find guys that are 6'1". Granted, the Mavs have had a lot of 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" guys on the team this year that cannot do what Brandon Williams can do. So I think it is a pretty compelling decision to make. I would say I'm not making that decision for this year, unless I guess would the player that they signed be playoff eligible?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe if the 10 seed in the play-in is unavoidable, then maybe you do need to sign a guy that can help you there.
Yes.
But if they're making the decision based on awarding a multi-year contract, like at the minimum or near the minimum or whatever, moving forward for one player, I would choose Edwards because I think it's never a bad thing to have a lot of wings, a lot of versatile defenders. And I do think as a player that is considered a non-shooter and defended as such, having experience ducking into the dunker spot and taking these drop-off passes and going up and dunking or absorbing contact or whatever, like that's something that Omax struggles with. That's something that some of their other non-shooting wings over the years have struggled with, is finding a way to contribute other than just breaking open shots. And so I do think that that's a useful skill set. So I would say for now, I would prioritize Kessler. But, you know, I'm just SFG.
I think if Dallas is still in the play-in tournament, Brandon Williams is going to get the upgrade because if you're going into a playoff game, you need another creator. If you're going into a playoff game, you probably have one of the big men back. Although, again, we still don't know that for sure. I guess that's it. If Dallas is still in the play-in spot and have a big man back, then it'll be Brandon Williams. So this is what is likeliest to happen. If Dallas is in the play-in and do not have a big man back, it is likeliest to be Kessler Edwards or possibly Kai Jones. Possibly, depending if he comes back and looks really good. Because then you want him eligible for
He has draft pedigree and is still very young and all those things.
For the long-term future, I have been convinced throughout this segment, and it wasn't that hard, that Kessler Edwards... I was.
Well, you make a real compelling case, Bobby and Kevin, but...
No, you do. No. You made compelling cases, and the more I thought about it, I'm like, yes, Kessler Edwards, he has convinced me that, yeah, he should stick around this team for another year. I think that so if you're out of the play-in, then sign Kessler Edwards to convert him and give him put another year on his contract after this. No, he's with the team on a minimum. Brandon Williams, though, should take Jaden Hardy's spot.
I was about to say, now we're going to have a really interesting discussion as far as roster building going into next year, because that's where I was going. How do I make Brandon Williams shake for my roster going into next year? Because I think he has earned a roster spot, a standard roster spot on this team with his play. And honestly, Dinwiddie is not under contract for next year. There are questions on whether or not Jaden Hardy needs to remain on this roster. Dante X is in the final year of his contract. There's going to be open spots for potentially a Brandon Williams to slide right into one of those. And the way that he's played, I do think that he has given himself a very good chance to get himself a contract with this team next year.
The difficult thing, though, is if you're going into next season under the impression, or maybe armed with the knowledge, if they already know, that Kyrie is going to miss at least X number of games. Like, yes, you do need guards in that case, but you probably have to invest resources into getting like a really good guard if you want to. If they're going to keep the team together, and Kyrie is going to miss a lot of games, and they want to make the playoffs and be a good regular season team, then they can't go into next season with Brandon Williams as the starting one. They have to go get a really, really, really good player.
Yeah, but if I squint my eyes and watch Brandon Williams play, sometimes I think it's Kyrie.
He's really talented. He is really talented, but like
at minimum, he's a backup point guard.
Yeah, he shares Kyrie's.
Potentially.
I think it's way too soon to be.
I don't think he's. Yeah, I'm not saying he's anywhere near a starter, but I think he's a credible potential backup guard.
I'm curious about him as a backup guard. In fact, I think that he's got a lot to. I think he needs to show it for 7 more games before Dallas is even at a point where it's like, you for sure are going to get a minimum contract from us next year.
He is better than multiple players on the roster right now, though.
Yeah.
Yes, he has come through.
I think
and been very decisive in that way.
He's a more impactful, effective player than Hardy, and I think that Edwards is a more impactful, effective player than Omax. Now that might not stay the case, but 2 of them are balling out right now, and 2 of them are out hurt, and that's a real thing.
Let's take our last break here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. When we come back, we wrap up tonight's game and how things went down in San Antonio. Plus, we look forward to our next game when the Mavericks take on the Rockets on Friday. Whether or not PJ Washington needs to come back for this team. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
But first, folks, it has never been a better time to be a diehard. Holy smokes! Is there something wrong with my vision? I see $36. What the heck? Apparently, it's NFL free agency season. Our Cowboys show did do 3 emergency pods for guys signing 1-year deals today. So Cowboys are out there with ambitions of, I guess, winning 7 or 8.
Let's not.
Okay.
Let's not.
Well, you're the football expert. I'm curious to hear your opinion. Or
who did they sign?
They signed one incredibly good football player today.
So
one. That's all I got to say.
Would I have heard of them?
No.
Well, why don't they go sign players I've heard of, like Aaron Rodgers?
Well, Jerry Jones is cheap.
Consult you.
Or why didn't they go get?
But I have to do this. I have to get through this.
No, you don't.
They could have got
in honor of free agency opening up. We're running a $36 deal that comes out to $3 a month. I want to shout out everyone that signed up just today to be a diehard. Shout out to Trey, James, John, Jason, Sean, Walter, Wainwright, Justin, Adam. Shout out to Robert, Josh, Stacy, Levi, Steven, YG, Ryan, different Ryan, Cam, and Tyler. They all signed up to become diehards. Whenever you sign up, you get a free shirt, which is already essentially how much the deal costs. All you got to do is handle shipping. You get access to the DLS Discord. You can read the entire website, all the premium written content coverage of all 4 major pro sports teams in town, with hopefully more on the way very, very soon.
And are we just less than 1,000? A few short of 1,000?
We're getting close to 1,000 diehards.
Yeah.
And we've only been around for less than 7 months.
Yeah.
Let's go. Our community is growing every day, and y'all are awesome. Again, you get to join the Discord. It's awesome. You get a discount on merch. You get a discount on events. We got a couple coming up that you'll hear more about soon. You get a physical diehard card and so much more. So thank you all for your support. And on with the show.
Be that 1,000th diehard member. We want you to join us in our DLLS Sports family. We are nearly reaching 20,000 subscribers here at DLLS Sports as well. The best and quickest way you can support us here is to hit that like button and subscribe to DLLS Sports. Tell your friends, tell your family that the best DFW sports talk is right here at DLLS Sports. As we finish up our post-game show on the evening, Mavericks unfortunately fall 126-116 on the road to the San Antonio Spurs. They will continue their road trip on Friday when they take on the Houston Rockets, who destroyed the Phoenix Suns tonight, as the Phoenix Suns clearly act like they don't want the 10th spot in the play-in tournament, helping out the Mavs not lose any ground despite the loss tonight. Interesting conversations, obviously, for this team as they look forward in terms of the roster spots that they have left, whether it comes to Kessler Edwards, Brandon Williams as well. Another one, and a decision that the Mavericks are going to have to make as well. PJ Washington was listed as questionable coming into tonight's game. He's been dealing with an ankle sprain, but may have a chance to make his return on Friday against the Rockets. And gentlemen, as we start looking at the final 15 games of the season, they play the Rockets on Friday before returning home for a noon game on Sunday against the Philadelphia 76ers. And we've heard reporting from our very own Mark Stein that if things continue to trend in the right direction for Anthony Davis and Derek Lively II, they may give it a whirl before the end of the regular season. Should that be the case for PJ Washington when it comes to this team, especially where they are now being below 500 once again, and whether or not it is the prudent thing to do in the final 15 games of the season? Where do you guys stand with PJ Washington coming back here soon, potentially?
I mean, all his teammates probably feel real tired right now. So just in the sense of having an actual 10-man rotation, maybe that's a wise call. I am at a point where I think it's very hard. I don't know. I think pragmatically Dallas should probably go prioritize the pick, but this is not a team that I think it's very hard for teams that set out to win, set out with title aspirations, to not try to follow that throughout the year. And I remember 2 years ago, Dallas got slammed for tanking all of 2 games, and Luka wasn't happy about it and said so in the media. And that was a situation where the roster just wasn't good enough. If you bring PJ back, again, if you start a year and you're just not good, or if it's a situation like Philadelphia where nothing was going right, or frankly, if you had a GM, who was wired a little bit differently, I think Daryl Morey and Nico Harrison are built very differently in the way that they see basketball, then Dallas would be much likelier to tank. I don't think they are. I think PJ's coming back. Would have shocked me at this point. It seems like we should be anticipating 1 or 2 of the big men coming back for a little bit. What would I do? I've said it. I mean, I think pragmatically, the thing that gives you the best chance is probably to tank. But I at least appreciate that it's a difficult thing to do. And then, yeah, I don't know. They're probably going to be the 10. They're probably going to be in the play-in tournament either way.
The difficult thing, if you do want the Mavs to lose out, the difficult thing is they're not 2.5 games behind Phoenix. Phoenix is 2.5 games behind them.
Yeah.
And Phoenix refuses to win. So just like there would be the case if you're trying to clinch a playoff spot and you are ahead, you control your own destiny. The Mavs do not control their destiny beneath them at all. They could lose out and still finish 10th. And so it is one of those things. I mean, I think, PJ's deal is different than AD and Lively's. Granted, I don't have intimate knowledge of PJ Washington's ankle ligaments, but with Lively and AD, there is a legitimate risk, at least perceived, that if they come back too soon, they could hurt themselves bigly and could cost them like a very long time, surgery, parts of next season, and so on. Whereas PJ, if it really is just an ankle sprain, the worst thing that could happen is that he would re-sprain it.
Sure.
So if there's no like real risk of like long-term issues, that extend into next season, you sprain your ankle too many times, you're going to be limping for the rest of your life, but there's a difference. Then there's no harm in bringing him back. I also think, without Kyrie and without Luka, obviously without AD, without a star, I think PJ's job night to night is just much tougher. And so I'm not sure, and this is no disrespect to him, but I'm not sure that bringing him back is going to put you over the edge in games. Granted, maybe they win tonight if PJ plays well, but
I think they might win tonight.
But like Najee's been cooking so well lately, it's kind of like, I don't know. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know that necessarily it changes too much in terms of like winning games that you would have lost if you bring him back. I do think bringing him back, if you're going to make the playoffs, obviously, and you want to win, you need PJ.
That was a thought I had too. Like, how much does PJ not optimize, like often trying and wanting, and clearly we've seen this, like trying to step up as the number one option on offense. Offense hasn't really been the issue. The question is, is he going to come back and help them defensively?
Yeah.
You know, the offense has actually been humming more often than not. I feel like,
slower
especially
defensively recently.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, maybe, and he talked about it during the Mavs ball, courtesy of Mike Curtis, saying that, you know, maybe he came back a little too early the first time from the ankle sprain, and maybe that contributed to what we saw on the floor from it. It does feel like
that Lakers game.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, it was really bad from PJ, and maybe this time around they've been more prudent in terms of his recovery.
He was pretty good defensively in that game.
Yeah, offensively he was.
Yeah, he was horrific offensively.
He was horrendous.
But I mean, that's kind of if he came back, that's the one area that I see. You know, they might be helped just because he's a good player. And good players do good things on the basketball court. But I don't think him stepping up as the number one option. Most nights they've had enough people kind of fill in those roles.
Mm-hmm.
PJ when he's out there can be a little turnover prone, and
the Mavericks have cut down on over the last 15 games or so in terms of their turnover rate.
17 tonight.
Yeah. Well, not tonight, obviously.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But yeah, for PJ, it feels like they've been much more prudent this time around in terms of his recovery to give him the best opportunity to come back to the floor and stay on the floor as a healthy member and contributor to this team, which is going to be important. When you start looking at their schedule over the next few games here, they are at Houston on Friday. Then they come home on Sunday to take on the Philadelphia 76ers. Then they're on the road against the Indiana Pacers. Then back at home to take on the Fighting Tim Hardaways of Detroit in the Pistons. And then they are on the road.
Tribute video? There absolutely will be.
Yeah, I think so.
And I already know.
Yeah.
One play that's going to be in there is the 3 he hit to ice game 2 against the Clippers when he turns around and he gives a LFG and like turns Super Saiyan right at midcourt.
Yeah.
There's a few others that I imagine will be in there, but you will definitely see that play in the Tim Hardaway tribute video.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Quentin Grimes on Sunday.
Ooh, will there be a Quentin tribute video?
No.
That's a really interesting one because I mean he's Mavs family for life.
He'll get a nice applause. Nice rousing ovation for Quentin Grimes.
At the end of the game when he has 30 points again.
I don't think they'll be clapping for him if he drops 30.
Did they give Grant Williams a tribute video?
No.
Does who?
No.
Grant Williams. He didn't get one.
Grimes will not actually get a.
So you have to play a full one season.
Well,
did they give JaVale a tribute?
No.
Not every player gets a tribute.
Not everybody deserves a tribute.
Usually.
I don't know.
Usually, if you started for 1 year, like Derek Jones got one. If you were like a key member starter,
who determines
playoffs?
At @M_Cuban or whatever his handle is.
Is that the super fan?
At M_Cuban.
That's right. Good call. That's right, Tanner. Good point.
Well, you interview game ops people.
No, I'm like.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Wait. Whoops. Yeah.
Oscar Grifty. I don't know who that is. Grimes 50 bomb incoming on.
He's gonna go for it. They got no one else.
He's gonna go for it. Yeah.
Have you seen their roster lately? Tim read off the names to us tonight. We were like,
who?
Are you talking about like Philadelphia University?
I've heard of 2 guys on that roster at this point: Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre Jr. And that's about it.
And Quentin Grimes. And Andre Drummond. You know who Justin Edwards is?
I don't know.
Jared Butler?
Oh, Justin Edwards is on my list.
Jared Butler, yeah.
Justin Edwards shot great whenever the Mavs lost to them recently.
Yeah, Edwards and Butler, nice players. Alex Reese, I don't know much about.
I got a bone to pick with Justin Edwards.
A what?
A bone to pick.
Adeem Bonat.
No.
Big dude.
Yeah.
He is a big. He's not like a. I mean, he is relatively large. He's like 6'10"
he is a big dude.
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker the 4th.
Oh, I forgot he did sign with him. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
But he played 0 minutes.
Yeah.
He got a rebound, but played 0 minutes. Why would you sign? They have 2 players who are the 4ths and 2 juniors.
Lonnie Walker the 4th and Kelly Oubre Jr. Andre Drummond the 4th.
Ricky Council the 4th.
Oh, Ricky Council the 4th.
And his brothers are all named Ricky. That's why he's Ricky Council the 4th.
I love that. Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yeah, well, Ricky Council the 4th shot 3 of 14.
Ouch.
He had a good game against the Mavs, though, I think.
Oh, yeah, he probably did.
Sounds right. Probably did.
By the way, after that game at home against Detroit on March 21st, they are on the road, the Mavericks, for 4 straight games in Brooklyn, New York, Orlando, and Chicago. Then they come back home on the 31st to take on the Brooklyn Nets and the Atlanta Hawks on April 2nd. For 2 games against Los Angeles on the road on April 4th and 5th. And then April 9th, of course, is when Luka makes his return. By the way, interesting note on that game, April 9th, that will be 6 years to the day of Dirk Nowitzki's final home game in Dallas as a Maverick when Luka returns here to Dallas to play. So interesting footnote there as well. So it remains to be seen how the rest of the season will look after the Mavericks split 2 in San Antonio. They will go on the road on Friday to take on the Houston Rockets. That'll do it for us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Unfortunately, the Mavericks fall tonight 126-116 to the San Antonio Spurs. We will be back tomorrow with our regular show at 1 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. We'll have our National NBA Insider, Mark Stein, as well, on location from a very special place tomorrow afternoon. He will let us know, and you will know when he talks
Louisville, Texas.
Not quite.
Oh.
Not quite. A little further north. A little further north. But he'll join us tomorrow at 1:15 right
Cool
here.
Beans Bar and Grill.
On the DLLS
shout out Cool Beans.
Mavs podcast. We appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Appreciate you, sir. That's our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Krill. That's our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.